The meeting starts in 4 minutes. 14 people are already in the room. Economists, advisors, the vice chair. 2 of them flew in from overseas last night. 1 of them hasn't slept. You already know what you're going to do. The question is what happens to the world when you do it. Most people think money is found, earned, saved, moved from one place to another. You know the truth. Money is decided, and for the next 40 minutes, in a room with no windows on the 2nd floor of a building most people couldn't find on a map, you are the one who decides. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. When this meeting ends, a number will exist that did not exist this morning, not transferred from somewhere else, not taken from anyone, created because you said so. That is the job. You've been in this role for 14 months. The first week, you sat in this same chair and watched a junior economist present inflation projections for 45 minutes. The numbers were good. The analysis was careful. When he finished, every person in the room turned to look at you. Not at the data, at you. You hadn't spoken, you hadn't moved, but something in your expression, something you weren't aware of, had already told them what you thought. The vice chair, who had been in this building for 11 years, later pulled you aside in the hallway. "They're not reading the models," she said. "They're reading you. They always will be." You went home that night and stood in front of a mirror for 20 minutes. Not vanity. Practice. Learning to go still. Completely still. Not cold suggests you don't care. Still suggests you're processing something they can't see yet. You are almost always processing something they can't see yet. That was 14 months ago. You haven't stopped practicing since. This morning, the number that matters is 6.4%. Inflation, not the forecast. The actual number released 40 minutes ago, before markets opened. Higher than projected. Higher than the models suggested. Higher than the number you privately expected when you reviewed the preliminary data last Thursday. 6.4% means prices are moving faster than wages. It means the person buying groceries this week is paying more than they paid last month and will pay more next month than they're paying now. It means something is wrong with the balance. Too much money, chasing too few things. You know exactly why. 18 months ago, you made a decision. The economy was contracting. Unemployment was climbing. The model said act now or watch a recession become something worse. You turned on the printer, not literally. There is no printer. There is a number in a system that changes. Assets purchased, reserves created, liquidity injected into a financial system that was beginning to freeze. It worked. The contraction stopped. Unemployment came back down. The markets recovered. For 11 months, every indicator pointed in the right direction. And the people in this building said the right things to the right cameras and used words like soft landing and managed recovery. Then 6.4%. The room is full now. You sit at the head of the table, 14 faces watching yours. The vice chair has a folder open, but she's not reading it. She's watching you. The presentation begins. You've already read everything in it. You listen anyway, because the room needs to see you listen. Because the process matters as much as the decision. Because in an institution whose only real currency is credibility, the appearance of rigor is not theater. It is the product. 40 minutes of data, projections, models. 3 scenarios presented with careful neutrality by a man who has been in this building for 22 years and has learned never to recommend, only to present. You ask 4 questions. The questions are not requests for information. You already have the information. The questions are a way of thinking out loud, of letting the room follow the logic, so that when you arrive at the conclusion, they arrive with you. This is the job nobody explains when they explain the job. The decision you're about to make will raise interest rates, not dramatically, 25 basis points, 1/4%, a number so small it sounds like nothing. It is not nothing. It is the price of every mortgage recalculated, every business loan, every credit card, every car payment for every person in a country of 330 million people, adjusted by a fraction that compounds over time into something real and felt, and sometimes devastating. The family that was going to buy a house next spring, their monthly payment just went up. Not by much. Enough. The small business that was going to hire 2 people, the loan just got more expensive. They'll wait. The 2 people won't be hired yet. The student loan, the startup, the factory expansion, the farm equipment, the hospital wing. All of it touched by 25 basis points, decided in a room with no windows by 14 people that most of those 330 million couldn't name. You think about this every time, not with guilt. Guilt would be a luxury you cannot afford in this chair. With clarity, the kind of clarity that comes from understanding that every tool has a cost, and the cost of this one is paid by people who were not consulted and will not be thanked for their contribution to price stability. You think about it, then you decide anyway. Because that is the chair. You raise your hand slightly. The room goes quiet. We move. 2 words. That's it. No speech. No justification in this room. The justification comes later, in public, in careful language that is simultaneously completely transparent and impossible for most people to act on. The vice chair nods. Someone makes a note. The man who presented for 40 minutes closes his folder. The meeting is over in 6 minutes. You walk back to your office. Your assistant hands you a briefing. Markets have already moved, not because of the decision, which won't be public for 3 hours, but because 14 people just walked out of a room, and the way they walked, the pace, the absence of conversation in the hallway, is itself a signal that someone somewhere read correctly. This is what you carry, not the decision. Decisions are clean. You make them and they're made. What you carry is the knowledge that the system you're responsible for is so large, so interconnected, so sensitive to the smallest signal that you cannot move without consequence, cannot speak without consequence, cannot be seen reading a document on an airplane without someone drawing a conclusion that moves a market, that affects a pension fund, that determines whether someone in a city you've never visited retires at 65 or 68. You sit down at your desk. There is a photograph on the corner of it. Not family. You learned early that personal photographs in this office create the wrong impression during difficult decisions. It's a chart, framed. The unemployment rate from 1929 to 1940. 11 years of what happens when the people in the chair get it wrong. You put it there yourself. First week on the job, you look at it now. Then you open the briefing. There is a version of this story where you are the most powerful person in the world, where the money printer is a god machine and you are the one who runs it. That version is wrong. The truth is simpler and stranger. You are not powerful because you control the system. You are powerful because the system is too large for anyone to control. And someone has to sit in the chair anyway. The chair is the job, the weight is the job. The stillness when the bad number comes in is the job. 25 basis points. 2 words. 330 million people, none of whom were in the room, all of whom will feel it. And somewhere in a city you've never visited, a family is going to sit down this evening and look at numbers that changed today and not know why. They'll blame something. The government, the banks, the news, the price of things. They won't be wrong. They just won't know which room the decision came from. You close the briefing, you look at the chart on the corner of your desk one more time, then you get back to work. Most people spend their lives trying to understand why things cost what they cost, why their mortgage went up, why their savings earn less, why the number on the screen doesn't match the life they planned. Now you know where that number comes from. Drop a comment. Would you have moved or would you have waited 1 more month?